So let's get started with Excel then. Now to open it, you can double click on an icon on your desktop, or you can click from the start bar here. Excuse me. The screen that you then get is fairly big. There's all sorts of things that you can do on it. You can open existing files, you can open templates, but what we want to do is to simply go to New and Blank Workbook. Now Excel calls spreadsheets workbooks, and there's a technical reason for that, which I'm not going to go into, because you definitely don't need that to get through the initial stages of starting a spreadsheet. So we'll call them spreadsheet sheets, etc. Along the top of the screen then you have what's called your standard Windows ribbon bar, and if we click on the different options here, you can see that all the different icons change, and there's a gazillion and one things you can do from up there, and I'm not going to go through each and every one of them. I might cover some of them during the course, but definitely not everything. The spreadsheet that you're looking at then is just like a huge sheet of graph paper almost, and the difference is, of course, it's interactive. So where a column and a row intersect, and I'm just going to hold down the control key and roll the wheel on my mouse, so I'm just zooming in a little bit. Where a column and a row intersect, that's actually called a cell. So I can say that my cell selector, this little gizmo here that's following me around when I click, or I can use the arrow keys, or I can use the tab key to move it around. That's my cell selector, and wherever that is, when I type something, that's the cell that I'm going to be typing in. It's a bit like a cursor almost, sort of thing. Now there's lots and lots of rows and lots of columns, and I'm just going to use a keyboard shortcut to go right down to the bottom of this sheet here, and 1, 2, 3, yeah, there's 1,000,004. There's lots. There's over 1 million rows there, and there's definitely over 256 columns. Now I wouldn't get too hung up about how big the actual sheet is, because there's more cells on there than you're ever going to need in your whole natural life, and if you fill one for any reason, let me tell you, you're probably doing something wrong. So it's massive. So that's the basic layout there. Let's just have a look then at some basic input. So if I put in the number 10 and press the enter key, I've just simply entered 10 into that cell. If I put 10 in the following cell, same again. If I type the word 10, you see there's a slight difference. I'm just going to get rid of this one here. We don't need that extra number 10. So if it's a number, it aligns to the right. If it's a word or text, it aligns to the left. And with text, if there's too much text to fill the column, the existing column width, you can see that what happens is it just seems to spill over into the cell next door, but actually it doesn't. And you can tell that by looking at this thing up here called the formula bar. The formula bar tells you exactly what's in that cell. So if I then click on cell D7 and look at the formula bar, guess what? There's nothing in there. If I click on C5, and look in the formula bar, it's telling me that there's the number 10 in there. And not only can I tell what's in there, but I can change that if I want to. So I can actually type information into the formula bar, and it will populate the cell where the cell selector is currently sitting. Now that's what happens with text if there's nothing in the column next door. But let me just put something in there. I'm just going to put the just for clarity, I'm just going to put 20 in there and press enter, and you see what happens. It seems to cut off the text, but in fact it hasn't done. The text is still there, it's just that the column isn't wide enough to show me all of that text. So if I move my mouse between the C and the D at the column header here, right on that line, you can see that the mouse has changed to a double-headed pointer, a double-arrowed pointer, sorry, and click and drag over to the right. It kind of like just shoves everything over to the right a little bit, and it shows me all of my text. So that's what happens with text if the column is not quite wide enough to show everything and there's something in the cell next door. Now it's a little different with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a fairly big number in there. Now if I then make that column narrow, this happens. It actually turns the number into hashes. And believe me, you really do need to know that, because you'll print out a report one day, it'll have hashes all over it, and it's simply because the column width wasn't wide enough to show the number, because it's too large. So numbers don't spill into the cell next door, they just like spit the dummy, if you like, and turn into hashes. You will also see that this may happen. Now can I, yeah, there we go. So if it's kind of like a little bit, if the column is okay to show it in this scientific notation, then it will do. But essentially we've still got the same number in there. It's just that the column width is displaying that number differently based on the actual the size of the number and whether it can fit in that space or not. So just be a little bit wary of that. And finally, we'll just have a look here quickly at some formatting options, and I'll show you a really nice little trick. You just pop some days in there. There we go. And let's say that we want to highlight the weekend, so we just want to make these bold maybe. So we can do that by clicking on the bold button here, make them italic. We can put some fill in the cells, and we can change the color. All good. And then let's say that we add a load more numbers. I'll show you this intelligent fill handle, just not in this lesson, but I will show it to you. And I'm just going to roll the mouse again, so I'm going out a little bit there. And let's say we wanted these cells here, or the formatting of those cells, to be applied to the other weekend days. Now you might think that you've got to go through the whole process of changing the font and the color, but there's obviously a quicker way. So you can click on the cell that you like the look of, and you can load it, the formatting of that cell, not the contents, the formatting, onto a thing called the Format Painter. A single click there, and then click on this Saturday, and it copies that formatting over. Then let's just go one step further. Now this definitely used to work in previous versions, but I've seen some issues with this. This time, so that we can copy that format to a number of other cells, we want the paintbrush to like lock, so we can dab it all over the place. So if I double click the Format Painter here, then click on Saturday, and then click on Sunday, and then click on Saturday and drag down to Sunday, and I've run out of Saturdays and Sundays, but you get the idea. What's happening here is, by double clicking on that Format Painter, when I've got the cell that's got the format I like the look of, it locks it. It kind of like loads the paintbrush with that, and then you can go dabbing it all over the place, and you can see I can do that. And I can even do it on cells that have got nothing in there, on the basis that when I come and type things in there, then they will appear in that formatting. So that's some real basic skills that you'll need to know to get you round an Excel spreadsheet. There is one little technique that you can use to make sure that you will make an exact copy of this sheet, no matter what. All the formatting, the column widths, all the formula, the fact that this sheet has actually got no grid lines on, etc. And it's really, really easy to do. You simply come down to the sheets. Sorry, I'll start again. You hold down the Control key on Windows, or on a Mac it would be the Command key. You hover over the sheet and you simply click with the left mouse button, drag and let go, and you get an exact copy of that sheet. It's the easiest shortcut you will ever find in Excel, I can guarantee, and I use that extensively. So if you're building something, a bit like the project file that we're working with at the moment, or we're starting to work with, if you're building something that's got a common structure throughout several sheets, it's a good idea to build your first sheet and then just simply copy that, make some changes to it, and then copy that just using the technique that I've just shown you, and then you can just make the individual changes on each sheet. It will most definitely speed you up, and it saves you all the trouble of changing column widths and formatting things and all sorts of bits and pieces there. So it's a tip that I would highly recommend you get well versed with. And you simply, again, here we go, to make an exact copy of this sheet, you hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac, and you hover over the Sheet tab, you click with the left mouse button and drag and let go of the Control key, and now we've got two sheets that are exactly the same as the first sheet.